Part 71. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 701. Chapter 701 Imprisoned Qian Yuman 2. Several people were chattering below to ask the beautiful woman to come down, but the beautiful woman who was discovered covered her face with her hands in annoyance. Failed again, only this time he was discovered after climbing up the wall, so he had to find a reason quickly. The beautiful woman smiled slightly, turned her head towards them, spoke in a relaxed tone and spoke fluent French. "Why are you nervous? I just came up to see the scenery. This kind of thing is normal for me. Do you want to come up and watch it together?" The woman sincerely invited everyone to come up. Below, a group of brown-haired women in servant clothes turned pale and jumped nervously below. "Miss Jian, come down quickly. If the young master finds out, we will be scolded to death. The scolding may be minor, and they may be expelled or even receive some punishment." "That's right," the woman sitting on the wall covering her face in annoyance is Qian Yuman, whom Tanyuj kept looking for in the Huangpu River. Why is she still sitting on the wall with a swollen belly when it is clear that she is alive and dead? If Tanyuj saw Qian Yuman, he would definitely jump up in surprise and shed tears of excitement. Qian Yuman looked down from her fingers in distress at the person who was anxious to let her go down. Escape failed again, and I felt a little depressed. Qian Yuman didn't know why she appeared here. She still remembered that she had a bad temper with Tanyuj that day. In a fit of anger, she threw down the divorce agreement to scare Tanyuj to see how he would react. She also ran away from home to relax and see if she could change her mood. Restore some. Unexpectedly, before Cai walked to the airport and even got on the plane, he was caught by a group of men in black and knocked unconscious. When she woke up again, she was already in this place. A large villa with many servants and bodyguards. The people here mainly spoke English and French, the most important of which was French. Together with the words on some facilities around it, she judged where she belonged. Country F on the other side of the ocean. The owner of the house seems to be very wealthy. These people have treated her like an ancestor in the past half-month, taking care of her food and daily life, and obeying her orders. But she was not allowed to leave, she was not allowed to go through the front door, and she was not allowed to go through the back door. She was not restricted in other aspects. There is nothing to communicate with the outside world here. There is no computer or mobile phone. The only phone to communicate with the outside world requires a password. She lived an old age life here, with only a TV set and countless books to pass her time every day. She felt very bored, extremely bored, and she didn't know what the purpose of the person who caught her was. Because these people did not harm themselves, but they imprisoned themselves, they called the owner of the villa young master. When she asked them about the young master's name, they did not tell her. They only said that when the young master has time, he will come to see her. Look at your sister. Do I have that much free time to wait for someone? She didn't know who the person who captured her was, and she couldn't get out or find someone to ask for help. She didn't know what other places looked like except the environment in this villa. She was like a canary in captivity, which was not a good feeling at all. Especially in the past few days, her belly has begun to grow as big as a balloon. It has become increasingly difficult to escape. She is pregnant with twins. When she is 4 or 5 months old, her belly will be bigger than normal. She is afraid that she will not be able to climb up the wall. Many babies must think that the tears shed in the past few days were in vain because His Majesty's tricks are too deep. I will tell you, am I trying to trick you into crying? End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 702. Chapter 702 Imprisoned Qian Yuman 3. Qian Yuman abandoned the people around her today. Not long after she sneaked out, they discovered that she was trying to escape. The first few times I tried to escape, I was discovered before I even reached the wall. It was almost aborted. This time I finally climbed up the wall, but when I came up there was a gust of wind, and I was found to be acting strangely, sitting on the wall looking deep in thought. Why? He died before he left the army. When will her escape journey be successful? Thinking about the course of the anti-Japanese war in the past, she cannot give up easily. It seemed that she would have to find another way to escape next time. She couldn't panic. If her sister is caught, she will definitely kill them all, regardless of their interception. It seems that after the child is born, she will have to learn more tricks from her sister. Every time she and her sister practice self-defense, she screams. Only now do I realize how wrong it was not to learn before. After the servants came over with the ladder, Tianyuman sat on it for a while to save her face and let them watch the scenery with her. She couldn't pretend to see the scenery until the end, and she couldn't just come down all at once. However, Tianyuman took a look around after climbing up the wall. This was the first time she looked outside, the first time she saw the scenery behind the wall. The scenery behind the wall was very beautiful. The big trees were at least 6 meters high. The big trees were so tall that she couldn't see the distant scenery at all. Only the lush trees in front of her and some beautiful wildflowers could be smelled in the air. The floral scent of wildflowers. Despite being imprisoned now, the scenery outside is still very beautiful from above. Why? Who imprisoned himself, and what was the purpose of imprisoning himself? How would Tanuj react when he saw the divorce agreement he left behind? Is he looking for her all over the world now? Although he kept saying that he didn't love him, he still cared about him very much. For example, when he ran away from home last time, he searched for him all over the world. Could it be that when he saw him leaving, he ran to find Murong 11? Leave her alone? No matter what, she was pregnant with his child and would not ignore him. She has been captured. According to Tanuj's ability, he should be able to find her. I don't know how capable the person who captured him is, or whether he will be so unnoticed that even Tanuj won't be able to detect him. You can't expect Tanuj to find you. Maybe the child is a few years old and he hasn't found him yet. After being reminded numerous times by the servant that it was okay to come down, Tianyuman slowly climbed down from the ladder. After climbing down, the group of people started chattering in her ears. They warned her countless times about what she should do as a pregnant woman and what she shouldn't do, which made her tired to death. She felt sleepy after being pulled by them to have lunch, and she fell asleep immediately while lying on the soft quilt. Although she didn't know where she was, she could feel the kindness of the servants around her. If they really wanted to do anything to her, they would never let her sleep in bed properly, nor would they treat her like a distinguished guest. Generally looked after. She almost thought that Tanuj was joking with her and deliberately found someone to arrest her to prevent her from acting rashly. However, after more than 10 days, she rejected the idea. She couldn't guess who was arresting her. She could only wait for the other party to show up, and believed that the other party would not ignore her. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 703. Chapter 703 Imprisoned Tianyuman 4. This wait is half a month. Tianyuman vaguely felt someone coming in, but Duke Joe was so powerful that he held onto her to prevent her from leaving, and had to play chess with her to determine the outcome. A handsome man as gentle as jade, retreated from Tianyuman's room and closed the door. Looking carefully at his appearance, Tianyuman will definitely recognize his warm smile, charming sleeping phoenix eyes blinking slowly, and the traces of evil in his eyes, which are not as gentle as her appearance. Jade's feeling was a little bit dangerous. This person is none other than Wang Tianyue, who suddenly disappeared from Green Castle and never appeared again. Behind him was a person who was his right-hand man. Young master, things are going very smoothly. Everything is going as you said. At this moment, Tanyuj is so distraught that he has locked himself in his room for several days, said Jesse, a Western man in his 30s who was able to manage him. Oh. Are you sad? Wang Tianyu's smiling expression showed a smile of schadenfreude, and he felt instantly relieved. Yes. After Miss Ji Lili's cooperation last time, Tanyuj thought that Miss Jianyuman committed suicide by jumping into the river. He searched for 3 or 4 days but couldn't find Miss Ji Lili who swam ashore. He thought that Miss Jianyuman was in danger. Not enough. Not bad, not bad, Wang Tianyu nodded with satisfaction. Hearing that Tanyuj was sad, Wang Tianyu wanted to go to the scene to see how painful Tanyuj was. As long as he can see Tanyuj in pain and let him taste the pain, he will feel extremely comfortable. Young master, look, Jesse handed over a tablet computer, which was playing the scene of Tanyuj trying to persuade Jianyuman to get off the bridge. Tanyuj in the picture kept confessing to Jianyuman and asked her to come down. Later, Jianyuman jumped off the bridge and waited for a bunch of pictures. The more he looked at the picture, the smile on Wang Tianyu's face became stronger. The unhappiness that had been squeezed in his heart for many years also dissipated a lot, and his mood became lighter. He watched it several times. He watched the 10-minute scene 3 times in a row before it ended. Ha 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 ha. It's so good, Tanyuj, you also have a bad day. After fighting with him for so many years, it has never been as good as this time. He almost burst into tears. What a pity, what a pity. I didn't expect that he had already treated Jianyuman is so affectionate, you can't tell that he is a lover. Speaking of Tanyuj being a lover, Wang Tianyu frowned in displeasure and turned around to look at Jianyuman's room. Unexpectedly, Tanyuj could still find love. Speaking of which, Tanyuj should thank himself for letting him see his heart clearly. Young master, this is the divorce agreement signed by Tanyuj. My subordinates took advantage of the chaos to get it that day. Jesse handed over the divorce agreement in his hand. It was the divorce agreement that Tanyuj signed that day in order to coax Jianyuman to come down. Divorce agreement. At that time, when Jianyuman jumped from the river, the divorce agreement was thrown on the ground, and no one paid attention to it. But Jesse, who had been waiting at the side for a long time, wisely picked up the agreement. Wang Tianyu reached out and took the divorce agreement from Jesse's hand, and the smile in his eyes became stronger. Yes, this divorce agreement is good. We can't let this divorce agreement go to waste. We must make the best use of it. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 704. Chapter 704 Wang Tianyu's Strategy 1. Wang Tianyu was still watching the video on the tablet when Jesse received a call. He immediately turned around and answered the phone, communicated a few words, covered the microphone and spoke to Wang Tianyu. Young master, it's Miss Ji Lil calling. Wang Tianyu took the phone from Jesse's hand. What do you want from me? Ji Lili's voice on the other end of the phone was a little cold and a little angry. Wang Tianyu, if you said I would accompany you in this play, then you should return my sister to me. My sister is here. Oh. Your sister likes my side very much and plans to raise her baby here. She is not planning to return to China for the time being, Wang Tianyu said in a relaxed tone. Ji Lili's face turned dark instantly on the other end of the phone, and she yelled into the phone. You don't mean what you say. Believe it or not, I'm going to tell my brother-in-law that everything from getting divorced to jumping into the river was done by me pretending to be my sister. Go. If you go, I can't guarantee that your sister and the child in her belly will be safe. And I will tell your ex-boyfriend your secret to see how you face him in the future. Wang Tianyu was smiling, as if he was saying something interesting rather than threatening. You threatened me again. Chi Lili's anger was instantly ignited, and she punched the wall beside her. She punched a black hole in the wall. Yeah, what's wrong with threatening you? Rat. Wang Tianyu didn't mind being scolded at all, he still smiled and didn't mind her ridicule at all. Now the despicable villain is warning you, stay away from the country during this period. It's best to avoid Tangyuj and don't let him find out. Cooperate well with me and I will let you two sisters meet. Wang Tianyu hung up the phone after saying that. He was very confident that Chi Lili would not make fun of Jian Yuman's comfort. What's more, she still had the leverage in his hands, so even if she didn't care about Jian Yuman, she would still care about him. After hanging up the phone, Wang Tianyu replayed the scene of Tangyuj on the bridge, begging the fake Jian Yuman to get off the bridge. Coupled with the joy of threatening Chi Lil just now, watching the video now makes her feel even more happy. 11 years, there has never been a happier time than today. Hatred has been squeezed in my heart for too many years. Jian Yuman and Tangyuj didn't know that everything they experienced during this period was controlled by a black hand behind the scenes, constantly pushing them into a pit of fire. And the initiator of all this is Wang Tianyu. Wang Tianyu put a lot of thought into arranging all this. He never came forward, but controlled it from behind. Perhaps even Jian Yuman and the others didn't know that he started implementing this plan from the day Jian Yuman appeared. In the past, Wang Tianyu had spent a lot of effort to fight against Tangyuj, but every time he caused Tangyuj minor problems. But Jian Yuman was different. From the moment Jian Yuman appeared next to Tangyuj, he discovered the difference between Jian Yuman and these conspiracies emerged in his heart. He has been looking for someone to quietly follow and investigate Jian Yuman, so he knows very well about the original exchange of identities between Jian Yuman and Chi Lili. The information about the identity exchange between Chi Lili and Jian Yuman was kindly provided by him when it first appeared in the Tang family's mailbox. This was the first step to cause problems between Chi Lili and Jian Yuman in the Tang family. Later, he used his men to meet with Lu Rong and reached a tacit agreement to destroy Tangyuj and Jian Yuman's plan. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 705. Chapter 705 Wang Tianyu's Strategy 2. Almost everything Lu Rong and Qi Yuqing did was under his instructions. He was also the one who instigated the relationship between Tangyuj and Jian Yuman. When they were in Berlin, he deliberately said that Murong 11 and Tangyuj had been lovers. Later, a fat and thin woman proved the truth of this matter. He was behind it, adding fuel to the fire. The plan went well, but there was a grudge between Jian Yuman and Tangyuj. Later, Lu Rong was used to destroy Jian Yuman's image in the Tang family, and she was even accused of having an affair with Su Warong. They all followed his plan. That day, Jian Yuman and Tangyuj had a quarrel, left the divorce agreement and ran away from home. He saw the right opportunity and abducted Jian Yuman. In Tangyuj's opinion, Jian Yuman ran away from home for a week and came back to file for divorce. In fact, the person who came back to file for divorce was not Jian Yuman at all. She had been abducted to country F last time. The person who appeared in front of them was Jian Yuman's twin sister Chi Lil. He used Chi Lili's ulterior secret and Jian Yuman's safety to threaten Chi Lili, asking her to cooperate with him in a play, and to make her talk nice. You can clearly see the importance of Jian Yuman in Tangyuj's heart. Let Tangyuj see his own heart clearly, and vent his anger at the same time. In fact, he just wants to see Tangyuj suffer. Chi Lili refused at first, but later Wang Tianyu made a bet with Chi Lili, asking her to replace Jian Yuman and return to the Tang family to get a divorce. If Tangyuj confessed his sincerity when facing the divorce, then this bet would be a strange one. If Lili wins, he will send Jian Yuman home intact. So when Chi Lili went back to file for divorce, she wanted to force Tangyuj to say that she had fallen in love with Jian Yuman. Chi Lili was in the room, turning on the recording on her phone, and kept forcing Tangyuj to tell her about her love for Jianyuman, but she failed. If the bet fails, Chi Lili, I must perform a play with the purpose of getting Tangyuj and Jianyuman to divorce. Wang Tianyu said it nicely. He was doing it for Jianyuman's good. A man who doesn't love Jianyuman doesn't deserve Jianyuman. However, there were some accidents along the way. Lu Rong and the others decided to kill Jianyuman's child without authorization, which caused him to temporarily change his subsequent development and become a fake Jianyuman who started a divorce and even used the miscarriage as an excuse to commit suicide by jumping into the river. Plot. When she heard the plan at first, Chi Lili refused. Even though Chi Lili had participated in the ocean swimming competition and won the championship, jumping into the river was nothing to her, but she did not want to help Wang Tianyu ruin their relationship. As a result, Wang Tianyu threatened him again. For the safety of his sister, mother, and son, even though his body had not fully recovered, he still cooperated with the performance. After jumping into the river, he swam ashore silently. After swimming ashore, Chi Lili asked Wang Tianyu for her sister, but Wang Tianyu blocked her and did not reply until today. Only then did Chi Lili realize that she had been deceived. She actively cooperated but did not get her sister back. At this moment, Chi Lili could only worried about Jianyuman's safety, and afraid that if she ran to tell Tangyuj the truth, Wang Tianyu would object. Now we can only hope that Wang Tianyu can keep his word and return his sister to Tangyuj after she has suffered enough. At this moment, Wang Tianyu was watching the scene of Chi Lili jumping into the river over and over again on his tablet computer. He was not bored at all. He watched it with gusto and was unwilling to miss any detail. The big show that has been planned for more than 3 months has finally arrived at the harvest season. How can he not be happy? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 706. Chapter 706 The Furious Manman 1. Especially seeing Tangyuj's painful expression, he felt particularly happy. If he could, he would even like to hide Jianyuman for a lifetime, so that he could watch Tangyuj immersed in the pain of losing Jianyuman his whole life. There is nothing happier than seeing Tangyuj in pain. Tangyuj, you too will have a bad day. As for the direction of the plot in the future, it depends on his mood. Just appreciating Tangyuj's painful expression now is enough to keep a smile on his face for the next 6 months. Jianyuman was hungry when she woke up from her nap, and she was still a little bit awake, so she still staggered when walking, her head was still a mess, she couldn't concentrate on anything, and her blinking speed was much slower than ordinary people. She went downstairs in a daze and didn't even notice Wang Tianyu, who was sitting on the sofa reading documents. She walked past him shaking her head and went to the kitchen to find something to eat. Wang Tianyu, who was reading the document, put down the information in his hand and followed Jianyuman to look over, and saw her cute look, as if she was awake and still shouting for food. Wang Tianyu unconsciously smiled, put down the materials in his hands, and followed Jianyuman's footsteps. Hungry, 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 I'm so hungry. Jianyuman wanted to eat right now, and she wanted to eat a big meal to feed herself. The talent came to the kitchen and picked up a piece of cake. He showed a bright smile with satisfaction, took a big mouthful and stuffed it into his mouth. The sweet taste immediately exploded in his mouth. Well, it's so delicious. Jianyuman couldn't help but make a sound of admiration. If there's anything delicious, let me try it too. Wang Tianyu came over and bit the cake from the spoon in Jianyuman's hand, tasting it slowly. Honey, I'm still very hungry. Don't fight with me. Jianyuman didn't even raise her head, and her eyes didn't fall on Wang Tianyu. She was still confused, thinking that the person who snatched the cake was Tanyuj, because Tanyuj passed by. I like to grab the cake from her hand. Qian Yuman protected the cake in her hand like a calf. She opened her mouth and swept the cake in her hand crazily. She still choked after eating half of it. Wang Tianyu kindly handed her a glass of hot milk. "Thank you, husband." Qian Yuman smiled sweetly, holding the hot milk and swallowing the cake stuck in her throat. Alive. Qian Yuman ate up the cake and drank the hot milk without even looking at Wang Tianyu. Wang Tianyu watched Qian Yuman eating the cake with amusement. After hearing her call her husband several times, the smile on his face became brighter. He crossed his arms and stared at Qian Yuman with interest. Qian Yuman, who had eaten and drank enough, leaned toward her husband with a satisfied look on her face. When she leaned over, she discovered something was wrong. Why were her husband's shoulders a little shorter? Tanyuj and Wang Tianyu have different appearances. One is more evil and handsome, while the other is as gentle as jade and slightly elegant. Their heights are also different. Wang Tianyu is only 1.8 meters, and Tanyuj is 8 centimeters taller than Wang Tianyu. The height difference between their shoulders is quite big. Sensing that something was wrong with the husband next to her, Qian Yuman blinked and turned her head, seeing a handsome face as gentle as jade, and winking at her playfully. Qian Yuman's eyes widened, her mouth opened slightly, everything seemed to have stopped, and she stared stupidly at the familiar handsome face in front of her. This is not her husband Tanyuj, but comrade Wang Tianyu, her childhood neighbor. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 707. Chapter 707 The Furious Manman 2. What happened? When did Wang Tianyu come to my house? Wait, that's not right. Tanyuj shouldn't be around her. She ran away from home, and then she was kidnapped by someone unknown. She is not at home now, so it is even more impossible for Wang Tianyu to appear in front of her. Qian Yuman rubbed her eyes, thinking that she must not have woken up yet. She put down her hands, and Wang Tianyu was still in front of her. Wang Tianyu, Qian Yuman asked tentatively. Then she saw Wang Tianyu shaking his head, and she breathed a sigh of relief. She was indeed dreaming, and the person in front of her was really not Wang Tianyu. Wang Tianyu shook his head, then pointed at himself and said with a smile, "I am your husband." Qian Yuman's expression froze, she took a breath and glared at the man in front of her. "Damn you!" Qian Yuman raised her hand and hit Wang Tianyu. Pretending that he is not Wang Tianyu, he is just that bastard. Qian Yuman finally woke up at this moment, and while clearing his mushy head, he also realized one thing. Wang Tianyu was the young master who kidnapped him for half a month and never showed up. Just now, he took a bite of the cake from her spoon. She mistakenly thought it was Tanyuj, so she didn't feel anything was wrong and ate the cake with the spoon he had eaten. The two of them kissed indirectly. Wang Tianyu heard that she thought he was Tanyuj, and even climbed up the ladder without denying it. After thinking about it, Qian Yuman clenched his fist into a fist and punched that handsome face without mercy. Wang Tianyu dodged nimbly and said with a smile, "Manman, you are so cruel. Just now you were calling me husband, and now you are hitting your husband. How cruel. I'm not only going to beat you, I'm going to beat you up too." Qian Yuman picked up a kitchen knife and chased Wang Tianyu and slashed at him. It was quite simple, this was the one who kidnapped her for more than half a month. She had guessed many people, but she had never guessed him. They haven't crossed paths since they sneaked away in Berlin, and she doesn't know what Wang Tianyu was doing afterwards. Suddenly appearing in front of him, he was actually the culprit who kidnapped her. His anger suddenly arose. He was sure that someone he knew took him away, and the anxiety in his heart almost disappeared. There must be a place to vent her anger. Seeing Wang Tianyu's flat face, she picked up the kitchen knife and ran after Wang Tianyu, as if she wanted to kill someone. Wang Tianyu's bodyguard saw Jianyuman chasing him with a kitchen knife and wanted to rush forward, but he stared away and continued the game of chasing her. Jianyuman is a healthy pregnant woman. Even though she is more than 3 months pregnant, she runs no slower than a normal person. She was not out of breath even after chasing for more than 10 minutes. Even after chasing for more than 10 minutes, she could not catch up with Wang Tianyu. Tired of chasing him, Jianyuman threw the kitchen knife on the ground and angrily glared at Wang Tianyu with his hands on his hips. "Stop! Stop and let you chop me, Wang Tianyu is not that stupid." Jianyuman grabbed something nearby and threw it at Wang Tianyu to vent his anger, but none of it hit him. She was so angry. Jianyuman sat down cross-legged to rest with some annoyance, and then glared at Wang Tianyu with threatening eyes. Wang Tianyu's appearance made Jianyuman realize that she was still safe, but she couldn't figure out Wang Tianyu's purpose of kidnapping her. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 708. Chapter 708 The Furious Manman 3. Can't figure out Wang Tianyu's purpose of kidnapping him, and after thinking about it, he thinks that he is mentally ill. "Come here, otherwise I will let you know the consequences of offending my mother." Jianyuman made a gesture of wiping his neck with his hand. Jianyuman and Wang Tianyu have known each other since they were children, and they still know him very well. When Wang Tianyu was a child, the person he was most afraid of was Jianyuman, because she was the worst person for both families to offend. Why? Because Jianyuman especially likes revenge, and she does it overtly and covertly. Wang Tianyu has been bullied by Jianyuman since he was a child. In his heart, Jianyuman is a devil and a scary little girl. Wang Tianyu liked to bully Jianyuman when she was a child, but once Jianyuman was bullied, she would complain in tears and tell brother Tiankai that she bullied him. Then brother Tiankai would teach him a lesson, and that was not the end. Then Chi Lilii, who knew her sister was being bullied, would come to the door, grab him and beat him up. He has suffered a lot from Jianyuman since he was a child. The more he was bullied, the more unconvinced he became, and he would always think of ways to bully him back. In the end, things would repeat themselves again, with brother Tiankai's verbal criticism coupled with Chi Lilii's violence. Beaten. Since he was a child, he has almost lived in the shadow of Jianyuman. When he saw the movements of Jianyuman's hands, he thought of the days when she was a villain when he was a child. By wiping her neck, she was threatening him. If he didn't follow her instructions, he would be bullied secretly, and she would even cry out to him for bullying her. Jianyuman's action was very useful, and Wang Tianyu came over obediently. As soon as Wang Tianyu walked in, Jianyuman sat up, grabbed his clothes and pulled them to the ground, and then beat him on the head with her hands without mercy. Now is no different than when he was a child. Wang Tianyu's body is strong and resistant to beatings, but Jianyuman's strength is still so weak that she doesn't feel anything even if he is hit. Jianyuman vented her anger and tore Wang Tianyu's clothes and hair into chaos, and she stopped beating until she was out of breath. In the end, she was tired, but Wang Tianyu looked at her innocently as if nothing happened. "This bastard! Wang Tianyu, are you boring or not? Why did you bring me here?" Wang Tianyu looked at Jianyuman innocently, shrugged and said, "I didn't kidnap you." "You still said no." Jianyuman raised her fist and hit her several times. She was knocked unconscious for no apparent reason before, and when she woke up, she found that she was in a strange environment, and it was not even the same as before. All she knew was that the person who was called the young master by a group of servants brought her here. She was not allowed to leave the villa, and she was not allowed to contact the outside world. She was kept in this beautiful cage like a canary every day. Now you still have the nerve to say there was no kidnapping. Wang Tianyu still looked at her innocently. "I just thought it was pitiful that you ran away from home, so I asked my men to invite you over." His innocent look seemed to tell her that she was knocked unconscious and brought here by his men on their own initiative and had nothing to do with him, so she must not accuse him unjustly. Tianyuman almost spit out a mouthful of old blood. I don't care if you kidnap me or invite me to be your guest. I've been staying for half a month and I'm going home. She has been missing for half a month. There must be a big commotion at home. Maybe Tanyuj starts to go global. She is wanted. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 709. Chapter 709 Abortion Surgery 1. Tianyuman stood up from the ground, too lazy to talk to him. She just wanted to return home quickly now. She had disappeared for long enough. Although Wang Tianyu's face always had a harmonious and gentle expression, his face would change every time he said it. Just like just now, his expression had changed into a terrifying expression. Tianyuman, are you ignorant or stupid? Do you think I will let you go? Wang Tianyu sneered, and the eyes he looked at her became much colder. This man's face changes too quickly. What exactly do you want? What do you think? Wang Tianyu didn't say it directly and frankly. He sat cross-legged on the ground and didn't stand up. Do you think I will really invite you to stay here for a few days? I'm not so free yet. You don't want to imprison me, do you? Tianyuman's face darkened instantly, and she couldn't understand the reason why Wang Tianyu did this. Wang Tianyu's terrifying expression turned back into a gentle smile. Congratulations, you got the answer right again. I just want to imprison you. You childish devil, do you think this will do you any good? Tianyuman's face turned red with anger. Wang Tianyu shrugged, and the expression on his face changed again, becoming like an old man who had been abstinent for a long time, staring at her with an evil look. You don't know that your beauty can make many men have bad thoughts about you. Feeling that her body was being sexually harassed by his eyes, Tianyuman took a step back with goosebumps all over her body and hugged herself with her hands. Beast, I'm a pregnant woman, her belly is bigger than that of a 4-month-old person, he can't help but see it. This is easy to solve. I will invite some obstetricians and gynecologists to help you with the abortion this afternoon. Wang Tianyu stood up from the ground, waved his hands and left gracefully, with an evil smile on his lips, leaving behind a sentence that made Tianyuman's face change. Big changes. Tianyuman's blood drained away when she heard Wang Tianyu's words. He is joking. He doesn't really want to perform an abortion on me. Tianyuman covered her stomach and swallowed slowly. She told herself that Wang Tianyu was just joking and he was just scaring her, but recalling the terrifying smile on his face when he left, she couldn't help but tremble all over. Perhaps he is not joking, he is serious. She must protect herself and her baby. This is her and Tanyuj's child, and she must not allow others to hurt her. Wang Tianyu is a bastard, what do you want to do? He hated Tanyuj before. She never knew what happened to them before. She tried to ask Wang Tianyu and Tanyuj but they refused to mention it. Every time she tried to ask, the two people's faces would look ugly. Thought that the relationship between him and Tanyuj would ease after the last incident in Berlin. After sneaking away, he never appeared again to cause trouble for Tanyuj and the others. Thought the hatred in his heart had faded away because Tianyuman made a prank and lied that Wang Tianyu had cancer and was going to die soon. Unexpectedly, more than a month later, he reappeared. Could it be that he found cancer that he didn't have at all and felt that she had tricked him, so he became angry? Irritability. At that time, he just wanted them to see through a little plot in his heart. Unexpectedly, the plot failed and Wang Tianyu became even more angry with Tanyuj. Now he has tied himself here and wants to do violence to her and the babies. Qian Yuman felt very anxious and tried to talk to Wang Tianyue, but could not find where his person was. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 710. Chapter 710 Abortion Surgery 2. Wang Tianyue was not there at night, and Qian Yuman felt a little relieved. Maybe he was just trying to scare her by saying he wanted an abortion. The next morning, not long after Qian Yuman finished eating, several doctors and nurses came in with toolboxes in their hands. Qian Yuman was walking in the garden at that time. When she saw the doctors coming, the color on her face completely faded, and she looked at the large army walking towards her in disbelief. Wang Tianyue is not joking, he really wants to kill the little babies in her belly. The moment she saw the doctor, Qian Yuman ran away. She was running so fast that she threw off her shoes. She quickly ran towards the back garden with one foot, trying to hide. The people following the doctor were Wang Tianyue and his subordinate Jesse and others. Naturally, they saw Qian Yuman's escaping figure. Without Wang Tianyue's command, Jesse and others chased Qian Yuman's figure. Qian Yuman's feet were definitely not slow. She was running very fast. Not long after she ran, she heard footsteps coming from behind her. When she turned around, she saw Jesse and others chasing her. "Oh my God, are you going to die today, you stinky Wang Tianyue, I curse you." Qian Yuman ran very fast, not at all like a pregnant woman. I believe that if Qian Yuman is given a ladder in front of her at this moment, she can climb it like a monkey. Qian Yuman's footsteps were not fast, and Jesse and the others caught up with him within a few seconds, and they were suspended, one on the left and the other on the right. "Let me go, you bastards, let me go." Qian Yuman struggled violently, still hanging in the air. Her struggles were useless. Even though she kept moving her limbs, she still couldn't get rid of them. The ground kicked Jesse, but they didn't react at all. She almost forgot that these people are not easy to deal with, they are all members of the underworld society. Qian Yuman had long known about Wang Tianyue from Tangyuj. Knowing that he has become the leader of the largest gang organization, the godson of Dongfang Qishan, although Dongfang Qishan has now washed his hands and established the Dongfang group, he is still a gangster in his heart, and their subordinates are basically gangsters. "Yeah, I'm used to seeing blood." The knife would not even frown on them, let alone Qian Yuman's weak feet. Qian Yuman struggled to no avail, her expression became very broken, and she wished she could fight with them. Although she couldn't beat them at all, she had to take a gamble for the sake of the little baby in her belly. Qian Yuman was determined to break away, and she would break away wherever there was a chance of breaking free. Qian Yuman was carried to an operating room, where the doctors were already preparing and waiting for Qian Yuman to be carried in. Qian Yuman saw Wang Tianyue and started cursing at the top of her voice. "Wang Tianyue, you are a murderer, you should hurt me even a hair, and you both will die. Let me go, don't even think about hurting my little babies. If you dare to hurt us, I will turn into a ghost. I'm asking for your life. You are a who has a father but no mother. I have cursed you to die a good death. If you die, you will be sent to the 18th level of hell. You will be hit by a car when you go out tomorrow, raped by a dead pig woman, and raped by a man. Star. Qian Yuman's mouth was like a machine gun firing at Wang Tianyue, saying whatever was unpleasant. Wang Tianyue almost hurt when he heard Qian Yuman's words that he has father but not mother, and his face instantly darkened. "No abuse, your majesty is not abusing you now, the real abuser has left." Next is the battle of wits and courage between Xiao Manman and younger brother Tianyue. End of this chapter.